This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vasugi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, and we are so thrilled to have you back for another episode. Today, we're going to be getting into a topic that I love now, but you know that saying, don't sleep on this? I feel like I slept on this topic for a couple of years, and I wish I hadn't. So my whole goal this episode is for you to be really excited about implementing this immediately, and that is autosuggestion, which is so important and valuable. Araj, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited about this topic today, autosuggestion. It's going to be a topic that some people have heard and some people are hearing for the first time. So to get us started, would you tell us what autosuggestion is and why it's so important?
Yeah, autosuggestion is a suggestion from yourself to yourself. Now, what we want to burn in our mind, Mike, is suggestion is the most powerful force in the universe. We are getting suggested to through marketing more than ever, all the time. And it's going inside everyone's subconscious mind. Now, autosuggestion is where you're directing it yourself. Now, what most people don't understand about autosuggestion is we're autosuggesting all day long. Think about when you're talking to yourself. Think about how you talk to yourself. We're constantly autosuggesting. Now, this episode, we want it where you only suggest to yourself everything that's in harmony with how you want to live, what your goals are in all areas of your life. And it literally will change your direction, literally with a snap of a finger. It is so powerful.
Yep. And you said it there. You said we're all being suggested to all day long from ourselves and outside sources. Suggestion is so potent and so powerful. Nothing happens without a suggestion first. And so we talk about how to guard yourself against suggestions you don't want. And then we'll get into autosuggesting the things you do.
No, it's a great question. You know, guarding our mind is critical because that suggestion is happening right away. And if people have been following our podcast for a while, I'm always talking about accepting and rejecting ideas. See, any idea that you don't reject, you're automatically accepting it. Let's say, for example, I said to you, I was complaining about something. And I was like, oh, this person is so awful or so negative. And you don't reject it. Well, that's going to impact your attitude. Or let's say somebody says, oh, that's so expensive. It's going to create a poverty consciousness. So we've got to be extremely careful what we're allowing in. And guarding your mind is absolutely crucial.
Okay. And then, so last episode, we went from taking your want and turning it into a desire. And now autosuggestion is the perfect follow-up to that. How do you implement conscious autosuggestion?
Well, autosuggestion is really one of the key ways of how you take your want into a desire. Even when we're visualizing, we're autosuggesting. We're seeing what we want. So you could do it without audible words. And it's what you're internalizing. So how you consciously do it, first of all, in the beginning, you have to discipline yourself. And so what I spoke about earlier, you have to know what you want. And anything that is not in harmony with what you want, you say, I reject it. So you don't allow it in. So you're stopping that. And then you reaffirm the opposite, which you're auto-suggesting what you do want. Now, for our elite clients, I mean, we've created a practice of this that's absolutely 100%. It will certainly recondition your mind the way you want it to be if you do it, where I have them put an alarm on their phone every 3 hours. And for 2 minutes, when the alarm goes off, they auto-suggest their goal. And then for 1 minute, so they're committing to 3 minutes every 3 hours, they are visualizing their goal. Well, that over a 30-day period creates a habit. Then when the alarm goes off, it automatically goes to the image. And as they do that, they're reconditioning their mind and they're rewiring it to how they want to live. And then their results are directly impacted.
So powerful. You know, Raj, something that many people have heard of or practiced is affirmations, which is a form of autosuggestion. Can you go into a powerful way to use affirmations as in autosuggestion?
Yeah, affirmations are only powerful if you behave like that. See, a lot of people, well, let me give you an example. They say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm weighing my perfect weight, looking good and feeling great. Okay. And then the rest of the day, they eat like crap. Well, they're not behaving like that. So they're never going to be at their perfect weight. But when you create autosuggestion, and if you go into our last episode, I encourage people to create a recording. Well, that is a form of autosuggestion. You could release weight that way. You could change your income that way. Because what happens is the suggestion through repetition is creating a new program in your subjective mind. And then whenever that program is installed, that is your new identity. That's how you're going to behave automatically through the repetition of doing it. So autosuggestion it's my number one tool that I use always. I mean, this has been my go-to. I remember when I first got into this work and I started auto-suggesting my first goal. And I remember I achieved it pretty quickly, like within 90 days. And I said, I'm going to do it again. Well, I've done it for every goal. And that's my go-to for anything. Like any goal that I have, anything I want to create, the first thing that I will never slip is my autosuggestion.
Raj, we talked for a second about guarding yourself against suggestions you don't want, but you just brought up a great point that making the suggestion is just the first step, and it's a very small percentage of actually making autosuggestion work for you. The big part of it is accepting the suggestion or accepting the idea. And so I'd love for you to tell that story about accepting an idea and go a little bit further into accepting a suggestion and conditioning your mind to accept suggestions as you make them.
Yeah, accepting an idea is something I used to do on an unconscious level. I didn't know I was doing it, but I was doing it. And that's how my results started to change when I got into this work and actually started implementing. But I didn't understand the power of accepting an idea. See, accepting is a fact. That's what when you accept anything, you make it a fact. It is a done deal. Now, years ago, the story that you're talking about, I laugh about it now. But I was talking to Bob, and he said he congratulated me on something. And I always joke you had to be very careful what you told him because he was the most aware person I'd ever been around. And he said, I said something like, I wish I could do that every day. He says, well, why don't you? And I said, I guess I don't know. And he said, all you have to do is accept the idea. He was so nonchalant. He says, all you have to do is accept the idea. He said, this isn't rocket science. Why are you making this so hard? And from that moment, it was like one of those emotional impacts that just jolted me. And from that moment, I said, I'm just going to accept every idea. And I said, whatever I set my mind to, if I really want it, I accept it right away. And when I accept it, what happens now, I could look back, I could reverse engineer this with you and tell you now I understand why accepting an idea is so powerful. So you accept the idea. Now you hold it with your imagination, and whatever we accept with our imagination, it has to, by law, go into our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind expresses our results. And so I want everybody to start practicing autosuggesting and accept that idea that it is done. Like any goal, it is done. It is not, oh, I hope it happens. It is done. And when you have that amount of certainty and that intensity and power with it, when you autosuggest, and we got to talk about how to autosuggest too. I mean, that is another one because a lot of people autosuggest with very little power. But when you autosuggest and come from the end, I'm telling you this, you got to practice it so you see it for yourself. You're going to bring in your circumstances, conditions, and your whole environment is going to change literally overnight.
Raj, let's get into that. Let's get into how to autosuggest because I think people want to know the mechanics. And there's so many people who are waiting for this like long calculus formula of how to create success. And it really is these really simple disciplines. And it's so simple you could miss it. It's so simple you could think, I don't really need to do that. Or that's not going to work for me. Or, okay, I thought about it, but I'm not going to actually write it down. Or, okay, I'll remember every 3 hours to do the autosuggestion. I'm not going to set the alarm. It's not taking that extra step. It's not, finalizing it because it seems too simple. And so we talk about how to overcome that also, and then how to auto suggest.
Yeah, first of all, if you spend any time with me, everything I do is super simple. I take complex ideas and I simplify them. And I really believe what stops execution is complexity, when people get in their own way. Our next move is our best move. It's not what I did yesterday that matters. It's what I do going forward. And if we're going to understand how to auto-suggest, we first got to, and I'm going to keep reminding you to understand your mind. Your conscious mind is the gateway to get to your subconscious. And once it's in your subconscious, it's expressed in your body through the feelings and vibrations you're in that create the results. Now, your conscious mind creates 2 to 4%. So I don't want you to auto-suggest and keep it there. I want it transferred to the subjective part of your mind. That's what you do when you're selling an idea, product, or service. If anyone is in sales, you got to get really good at this, because they're not buying your product, they're buying your mindset. You want to burn that idea in your mind. And they're buying the transfer, your ability to transfer belief. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked because I love selling. But auto-suggesting is, you want to do it with energy. You want to do it with power and intensity. So you don't say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have a 7-figure standard. You say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am living my 7-figure standard and I love it. I am happy, I am healthy, and I am wealthy. And like, you want to, when you're auto-suggesting, you want to think of exclamation points after, like 7 exclamation points. Like if you were reading a sentence with 7 exclamation points, how would you read it? Well, as you're doing that, that's what's transferring the energy from your conscious to your subconscious. And going back to your mind, your conscious mind is your intellectual mind. That's where you're gathering your information. We want to transfer that information into our emotional mind. So we want to talk the language of our subconscious, which is feeling, which is emotion. So some of your words are very important. So if I have a goal, I want to attach an emotional word with it. For example, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am earning $200,000 more every month, and I am living a life of freedom, doing what I love and loving what I'm doing. You see how I'm attaching it? Or I'm creating a massive quantum leap, emotional words. Well, as soon as you do that, your subconscious opens up. It literally is listening to everything you're saying because you're speaking its language. Like if I was speaking in Russian to you, Mike, you wouldn't understand me because you don't speak Russian. Well, most people are trying to condition their subconscious mind without understanding it. You've got to speak its language.
Raj, almost always the action steps that I take come from auto-suggestion. So you auto-suggest and then the ideas start coming. You're planting that seed and then the ideas come like, oh, here's a step I can take. Here's a step I can take. And so a lot of these ideas that we're talking about on the podcast, they're all connected. We'll talk about action because nothing happens without action. Nothing happens without decision. But these steps, they all go together. They're all woven really nicely together. And so we talk about how each of these works together and is so important.
Well, it's such a good point. They're all woven together, like you said. Well, nothing happens, first off, without knowing what we want more than anything else. We talked about that in our last episode. Then you look at, once you have a want, you've got to make an irrevocable committed decision. You've got to say, this is what I'm doing no matter what. And you make this defining decision. The reason I say it's defining, when you make an irrevocable committed decision, literally mountains move out of the way and you have a path to where you're going. Then you talk about attitude and discipline. Well, that doesn't happen without auto-suggesting. That's what we're talking about with accepting and rejecting ideas, then reaffirming what you want. Then to build your image, well, how do you build an image? You have to start acting like that person, but you can't act like that person until you auto-suggest it. So, and we haven't really gotten into attitude closely enough yet. Wait till we do. I mean, that is the one lesson that completely changed my life. And so everything is working together all the time. Even when you're not getting results, if you're doing the right processes, you're activating invisible results. And as you activate invisible results, you may not see it yet, but you're going to see it in the next day, weeks, months ahead if you keep planting the right seeds.
I love it. I love that. And I love your perspective on things. And I want you to give a new perspective on this because I just mentioned how a lot of times people are hoping or waiting for this long calculus equation on how to create success instead of just doing the really simple daily disciplines consistently over time. Why does our mind fight us so much on doing small, consistent daily disciplines and understanding that the tortoise is going to win the race?
Well, if you look at our society, everything's marketed overnight success, overnight weight loss, overnight get rich quick. It's not true. You grow a day at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time, a year at a time. If you want to change your results and really change them quickly, and then I'll answer your question, is meditate, visualize, and come from the end. Those three will get you to quantify your results literally in warp speed. And, why we do it is because it's illogical to the program, the paradigm. It doesn't understand repetition. But when we were young, repetition was great. If you're playing a sport, you do something 1,000 times, all of a sudden it's automatized. If we're riding a bike, we keep getting up when we fall. But as we get into young adulthood, it's like, oh my God, I'm never trying that again. I got a rejection. Mm-hmm. But when we were kids, we would try it over and over again. See, the winners love rejection. They know that's the side effect to greatness. Is that a side effect for you, the listener? I want you to hear me. Are you shifting your attitude towards fear, towards rejection, towards quote unquote failure? Because nobody fails unless they give in, unless they shrink. When you shrink, that is very damaging. When you say, I'm not going to do this because this happened in my past, you got to release that story because every emotion is tied to a story. And we've got to only let go of the emotion, let go of the stories that have strong emotions that are in a negative way.
So good. Araj, I want to get into action for today, something that they can do right away to start understanding and implementing autosuggestion.
Well, here's what I recommend you do, okay? I recommend every morning for 5 minutes, get your goal, auto-suggest it, put a song on it. That's what I do because you want to get in the emotion. Put a song you like. Like I love Money Talks from AC/DC. And you can change the song, whatever you like. And I don't even hear the words of the song, but I get in the energy. It shifts my vibration. And do it for 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. You watch what will happen in 30 days, but commit to do it for 30 days. And you're probably thinking, like, you guys are giving us a lot of processes to put in. They're all connected. They're all easy to do. But if you want to change your belief, you auto-suggest the hell out of your goal. You auto-suggest it over and over again. That's all I want you to do. 5 minutes, twice a day. Put a song to it and put a song you really like. Have it in the background.
I love it. Araj, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful episode on autosuggestion, such an important and valuable topic. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to leave us a review and rating, share it with your friends and family so we can get more listeners on Seven Figure Standard Podcast. We're so grateful that you are here, and we will see you next week for another episode. Araj, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Mikey.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Seven Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Seven Figure Standard.